Vacation was lovely. We went to Barbados, and it seems that they have 75 to 80 degree weather all of the time, 365 days a year. So I don't know if I would like
really?
it on a yearly basis, but I have to tell you that for 1 week it was very beautiful. So I'm feeling all perked up, and needless to say, the election results, not only my staying here, but the fact that we've gained some more automatic support, and perhaps most importantly, the fact that all of our initiatives on the ballot were passed are going to make this year and I think next year very, very exciting years. It's one thing to win, but if I had won, and then everything that we had fought for had been defeated, it would have been somewhat of a bit of victory.
Right.
I think people are feeling, there was an article, every now and then the Free Press has an article with a good headline on it, and that the headline they had the day after the election, or 2 days after, was a good one. I think people are feeling very good and very proud about Burlington. There's a positive attitude in the air. We're moving forward in a number of different directions, and I'm excited. I'm raring to go. I think the Board of Aldermen's raring to go, so I'm feeling good.
Good. What are you raring to go about? What's
Okay, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of things that are happening in Burlington, and what I just want to do today is to just touch on briefly some of the areas that work is going to be taking place on. As we mentioned during the campaign, of course, the street and sidewalk program is an ongoing program. It's going to continue. I believe very shortly, within a couple of weeks, we should be able to announce the program for this year. And again, our goal is to repave every street and every sidewalk in the city of Burlington that needs repaving, and then to have an ongoing maintenance program. So that program will be announced. A whole lot of new streets will be repaved and new sidewalk segments. Further, the sewer improvement program and the wastewater plant improvement program will be accelerated. There'll be more work being done this year on that. And of course, the goal there is to do away with the backup problems that many people have been having in their basements. I think many people understand that the sewer system in Burlington is very, very antiquated. A couple of years ago, we passed a $23 million bond issue to deal with that, and that's what we're doing now. We'll see more work being done on that program this year than last year. So we're making progress there. In terms of infrastructure improvements, also, as a result of the passage of the $2.9 million bond issue, we're going to see a lot of nice work on the waterfront. And that, I think, what you're going to be seeing in the next few years is just a whole lot of activity down on the waterfront. We're going to be attempting to bring people down on that waterfront. And probably there's no area that's more important and that I'm more excited about than finalizing the dream that many people in the city have had for decades of having a vital, alive waterfront where thousands of people enjoy. You and I were down a month or so ago.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, on the ice.
It was a freezing cold day, and we were down there, and just hundreds of people were ice skating, sledding down on the waterfront, and it was really nice. That gave you an idea, a glimpse of what that waterfront could be as a recreational activity for people.
What's going to be the first real sign, visible sign that something's starting to happen?
The CO office, in fact, has already come up with some tentative timetables as to when work is going to be beginning. Some of the work will begin just as soon as the weather warms up. Other work is going to have to be take a little bit of time. But certainly we can begin work on the bicycle path. The bicycle path will be widened at certain places and completed. Mm-hmm. And that work can begin, as far as I can understand, as soon as construction season allows us to begin. There'll be some improvements to a number of park spaces down on the waterfront. We recently acquired, as you know, the Mobile Oil Beach, and that's going to see some significant public improvements, some toilet facilities. It's going to be one of the nicest swimming beaches in the city, and I expect that work will begin there as soon as possible. We've already approved a bid that came in to control some erosion problems in Letty Park. And work will begin there very, very shortly. So I think people will see throughout the entire waterfront work beginning. One area that we are not going to begin right away deals with, in fact, the most important part of the whole bond issue is the construction of a community boathouse. And the location and the timing of that is dependent upon how we solve the wastewater plant problems and the pollution problems right now. So that's going to have to be tackled first, and then the construction of the community boathouse begins after that. But work is already going on full blast in terms of studies to see how we can tackle the pollution problems down around Perkins Field. Mm-hmm. We're moving in that area as well. So So I think people will see a lot of work in a lot of areas in terms of infrastructure beginning immediately as soon as the weather warms up. There's another area that I am very excited about that we're going to be moving on, and that is the whole concept of beautification. And what excites me, frankly, about beautification is that not only is it an end unto itself in terms of making the city more beautiful, but it's a means by which you can bring out many, many hundreds of volunteers who will help to make the city more beautiful. And frankly, for the small amount of dollars that the city spends, it's a wonderful investment because the results in terms of pride that people have in the city, their own participation in our activities, and the end result is 100 times more than what the city ends up spending on these projects.
Is this more than the tree planting?
Yeah. This year, we're just at the tentative stakes. We're just discussing this now, so you know what I'm saying is still tentative. We haven't finalized it, but it looks to me like we're looking at least 5 areas in terms of beautification. Number one, we're going to continue the tree planting effort. As you know, in the last 3 or 4 years, we must have planted approximately 2,500 trees all throughout the city. And I think as the weather warms up and the spring comes, people are going to see a lot of green from Main Street into every neighborhood in the city that we haven't seen before. The cumulative effect of 3 years of planting, I think, will be seen more apparently now than before. So tree planting will continue, and what has to be determined is what major thoroughfares we want to work on, as well as what kind of, in what neighborhoods do we want to work on. And we're going to need a lot of volunteers for that. People will have the opportunity to call in City Hall, and tell us, you know, if they would like a tree, and we'll do our best to accommodate that. So that's an ongoing effort that we're going to continue. Second of all, we want to do a more vigorous cleanup effort. We do cleanup every year, and the tentative date that we've selected on that is about May 2nd, and we're going to need a lot of volunteers for that as well.
Great. Boy, I've been noticing a lot of the trash.
Yeah, especially now when the snow
Snow melts and
precisely. You see what
there comes the trash.
So what we want to do, and we'll coordinate that with the Public Works Department, is clean up our beaches, clean up the downtown area, clean up the green belts, maybe do some lawn mowing. But there's a whole lot of work that has to be done, and we'll need some help to do that. Thirdly, we would like to, in addition to the trees being planted, we would like to plant a lot of flowers this year, flowers and plants. We have begun to do more of that in the last few years. If any of the viewers have been to cities like Quebec City, in Quebec, what you're astounded by is just the beauty of the city in terms of flower bed after flower bed. And we're very excited about that. We have begun to do that. Some people may recall that right across the street on Battery Street from the Radisson Hotel, there were some beautiful beds of tulips.
Yeah, I got some nice shots of those.
Right, and out at Szymanska Park in Ward 1, and in various other areas of the city, we have begun that process. I would like to see that accelerated because it's really inexpensive, and it just, you know, blossoming flowers are just breathtaking, and so that's an area that we want to get into. We're going to again need the help of a lot of people. The city can supply the plants and the flowers and the seeds, and we'll just need people to help out on that. And tentatively, that date is scheduled for May 30th. And something else that we did last year that we want to continue on is we held a very successful beautification contest for people who wanted to basically plant their own gardens. And we want to expand that to the business community. We gave out some awards for some really, really lovely home gardens that people had. They did the work themselves, and we want to encourage that. So we'll be having more information on that. And lastly, we want to do something that we've just done a little bit of in the past, is our areas of the city where people just don't have a whole lot of money who would like to paint their homes. And I think the city is looking at the possibility of making free or inexpensive paint available to those people, and also working with volunteers and the Land Trust and maybe the Youth Employment Program to get young people out to help people paint their homes. Those are 5 separate ways that we think we're going to have a good impact on beautification efforts in the city.
Great. What's next?
Well, what's next is clearly the issue of housing. And I know that I want to congratulate you and others who are working with you on Public Access TV for highlighting this problem. Housing remains a very serious problem in the city in terms of providing affordable housing, not only, of course, in Vermont, but in almost every section of the state of Vermont. And it's a national problem, it's a state problem, and it's a city problem. And I think all that I want to say right now is that there is no issue that is going to be given more energy and more thought than the issue of housing. And we are going to do everything that we can to work with the banking community, to work with the state, to work with our own land trust, to provide more affordable housing and more tenants protection in the city of Burlington. One really exciting program that we're going to be discussing at greater length is that for the first time we have gotten a significant sum of money from the city employees' own retirement fund to go directly into land trust. We got $1 million. An agreement was worked out between the retirement fund, which now has approximately $25 million in it, and the land trust, which will enable the land trust to purchase a number of buildings, rehabilitate them, and lease them out as they do on a long-term basis to families who are in need of affordable housing.
How do you get money out of a retirement fund for housing? How does that work?
Well, the story there, it's an interesting concept, and it's one that is being thought about all over America. In fact, I just read in the paper today being Friday, Jesse Jackson was out in the Midwest, I think, talking about the concepts like this. Throughout America, the unions and other organizations have literally billions and billions of dollars in retirement funds. These are the funds that are available to pay off to pay retirement benefits to employees when they retire. Mm-hmm. And what has been a subject of real interest and real debate is how is that money being utilized? And a very funny story occurred. The unions, in fact...
I mean invested.
Yes, how it's invested, right.
Okay.
Now, historically, what's happened with that money is the unions and everybody else has basically given it over to money managers to make as high a rate of return as they could, which is not unreasonable. It's been invested in the usual manner. Okay, here's $5 million, earn me the best rate of return you can, and they've gone to the conventional money managers to do that.
Right.
Now, the problem there is that for the unions themselves, that money has not been used in a way that will benefit American workers. Okay? They have said, basically, use this money in any way you want it. And the ultimate irony occurred when the AFL-CIO, the unions, discovered that some of their retirement money had gone in to help build what they call the Right to Work building in Washington, which is the head of the anti-union movement in the United States. So the union's money had gone in to build the headquarters of the anti-union movement. And when that crystallized the stupidity of their investment policies. So now there is a whole lot of discussion which says two things. Number one, how in fact can we get the best rate of return for the retirement benefits of our workers? But second of all, how can we use that money to create economic development projects which will enhance workers and communities today? And so what we did in a whole lot of discussions with our own retirement board, who necessarily and correctly are concerned about getting a good rate of return on their investment. But I think we worked out an agreement by which they will get a good rate of return, but also the community benefits, in this sense, through affordable housing.
Okay.
Okay, and so what you're seeing now is city retirement fund money going into enhance and improve the quality of life in our own city, rather than simply being invested in General Motors or Chrysler, wherever they invest. It's now staying home, providing jobs for our own people, and creating more affordable housing. And that's clearly the direction that we want to examine and look at in the years to come.
And this will still earn money?
Oh, absolutely. No, they're not. They would be illegal and incorrect for them to do it. They have to protect their own people, who in this case are retired city employees. So they're going to be receiving a good rate of return. But at the same time, they're going to be stimulating local economic development and dealing with the serious problem of housing.
Right.
So we're excited about that. And there are a number of other areas in terms of housing that we want to be looking at. In terms of the problems facing senior citizens, it's an issue that certainly we have addressed and will continue to address. One of the areas that I've talked about in the past, and I think we should have something pretty definitive in the very near future to announce, deals with what we call a reverse equity program for senior citizens. And I don't know that this is going, I do know that it is not going on anyplace else in the state of Vermont. It is going on more or less in other states in the union. Basically what this will be about is working in conjunction with a local bank. We are going to be able to create a situation where senior citizens will be able to borrow money, basically take out mortgages on their homes without having to make monthly payments, as everybody else does. The mortgage will be paid off when the home is sold, and there will also be a reasonable and a favorable interest rate. What this means is this: it is not a public expenditure. In other words, this is not taxpayers' money going to help senior citizens. That's certainly a worthwhile effort. What this simply will do is this: if there are senior citizens, for example, who are having a hard time paying their property taxes, and there are many senior citizens in that boat, who want to continue to live in their homes. Often they've lived in their homes their whole lives. They've paid off their original mortgage, but they're now having a difficult time raising the cash that they need to pay their taxes. What this program will do is enable them to borrow enough money to pay their taxes. That money will not have to be repaid until the house is sold, until the individual moves out or perhaps passes away. So the beauty of the program, it combines two facts. Number one, in Burlington today, the property value of most people's homes, the value of most people's homes, is increasing by 5, 10, or 15% a year. Now, on one level, that's clearly very good. Everyone is delighted that their home is worth 10% more than it was the past year. The negative of that is that taxes go up, of course. Property taxes go up as the value of your house goes up. And second of all, for many of our senior citizens, they simply don't have the cash to pay their property taxes.
Right.
So what this does is allows people to stay in their homes. The money does not have to be paid off. The loan does not have to be paid off until the home is sold. But we'll have more specifics on that. But that's a program that we are working on.
Where would the banks even begin to think that that's a good deal?
Well, from their point of view, it is a fine deal. They just get their money instead of getting the money every month, as you pay. If you have a conventional mortgage, you pay it off every month. That's how they get their return.
Right.
Here, their return is delayed. The payback is delayed until the home is sold. They're going to get, don't worry, they will make money on the deal. The question is what kind of interest rate they're going to charge, and we are working with the bank to get quite a reasonable interest rate. But the point is they will get it all the whole loan back, not on a monthly basis, but when the home is sold. So they're not going to lose any money. But it's a program that exists. Similar type programs exist in Connecticut and I believe in California. It does not yet exist in Vermont. I think we'll be the first community to do it.
What happens if someone, if after the elderly person dies and they want to leave their home to, is that
that's the price is going to be deducted. Let's just say, for example, that a home.
But what if it's to someone who doesn't have, so after that final sale, the money, that building has to be sold. I mean, some money has to be.
Right, that's right. When that house is sold, let's just say it's sold for $80,000, and the person owes $10,000 to the bank, then that $10,000 is deducted from it, and that is repaid at that point.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's an area that we're going to be looking at. We are going to maintain very strongly, and I know there are people who don't agree with me on this, but nonetheless that is my strong feeling, our concern on national and international issues. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, within a couple of weeks, there is going to be a very nice series of events here on Central America that are taking place in the city of Burlington. The ambassador, the Nicaraguan ambassador to the United States will be here in Burlington. And I applaud those people who have put on that function. I think there's going to be some functions up at the university, and some people here in the city of Burlington have been actively involved in this for years. And I think that that's important. I'm very proud, very, very proud of the fact that, as you know, some 8 to 10 people from Burlington have recently gone to Nicaragua, to Puerto Cabezas, to help build a playground there for the children. And I just think that that is absolutely fantastic. And that when the history of this unfortunate and sordid war against the people of Nicaragua is written, people like that who went to bring hope and to bring some joy to children who are suffering a lot in that country, rather than the bombs and the guns of the federal government, I just think that that's fantastic. And in one way or another, we'll be acknowledging the work done by those people. It's done a very brave and decent thing.
You know, Roger Ellis, that veterinarian down in Virgins, he just came back from a veterinarian trip down there, and I've just been working with him on putting a video together, and and it's just filled with all these farm scenes from all the rural areas.
Did he videotape them?
Yeah, and it's just amazing how what their life is like. It's just nothing like here. Just I mean, and to think, I mean, I don't want to turn this into a big thing about it, but just the contrast between the way they live and what they're supposed to be trying to do to us is, I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, I think, I mean, if there's anything that's positive out of all of this, what is Iran and Nicaragua scandal that Reagan is having to deal with, is the absolute lies of this whole policy that have gone on for the last 5 years. It's a lie from beginning to the end. To think that a nation, an impoverished nation of 3 million people, is a threat to the United States is just totally absurd. And this is just a continuation of a policy which the United States government has had for Central and Latin America for 100 years, where they in fact are seen as our backyard, and we have the right to do anything we want. And how dare them have their own governments do what their people want?
Yeah.
They don't have the right to do that. We have the right to destroy them. But again, it is, to me, I'm very proud as the mayor of the city, of the Sister City program, which now on 2 occasions has brought medical supplies, educational supplies, food down to Nicaragua, and most recently 8 or 10 people actually went down there to help build a playground. That's just incredible, and we're very proud of that. And in fact, there's a group now that I think I'm going to play a more active role in than I have in the past. And essentially what it is locally elected officials who are now in the process of speaking out more strongly than they did in the past on national priorities. And the point that they raise is the point that I always raise, is that when the federal government spends $300 billion on the military and cuts back on programs for education, cuts back on revenue sharing, which often funds police and fire protection, cuts back on programs in housing, environmental protection, or whatever, if anybody thinks that national priorities are not local issues, they are very mistaken. And I have been disappointed by the tone of many mayors who, just don't pay attention to these issues. But I think increasingly, as the cities and towns throughout America suffer. Now, for example, if you read the papers during a March meeting here in Vermont, in town after town, where you're talking about our property tax increases to replace the loss of revenue sharing. Mm-hmm. Burlington is one community which didn't have to do that because we developed alternatives to the property tax. But that's what's going on, from one end of the state to the other. So that is a federal issue coming right home to bear. Property taxes are going up in almost every town in the state of Vermont because we have lost federal revenue sharing. And we have lost federal revenue sharing because the priorities of the federal government prefer to spend money on nuclear weaponry, going to war against the people of Nicaragua, building the insane Star Wars program. That's where the money is going. So I think it's absolutely proper that local government and local government officials do speak out on those issues. There is now an organization which I intend to play a more active role in, which has that focus.
Is that a national group, or?
Yeah, it's a newly formed national group, and it's called, I don't know what it is called. It's local elected officials, and they have a national, they have people from one end of the country to the other. Not a whole lot yet, but it's a group that I'll see what I can do to help build up here in New England.
Neat.
We are also right now beginning work on a whole number of arts and cultural programs. In fact, after this is viewed, the Poetry Festival, which is sponsored by the Mayor's Arts Council, will take place tomorrow night, Saturday night here in City Hall. Very nice program in which we have, more or less adult, serious poets working with kids, children who are writing poetry in their schools, elderly people who have now begun to get involved in poetry. Mm-hmm. And again, I know there was a letter to the editor, you may have seen that.
Yeah, there was.
Why are we spending money teaching people how to write poetry or do dance and so forth and so on? And I believe in it, and I believe that the overwhelming majority of the people in the city of Burlington believe in it. We are going to repave our streets, and we do have a good police and fire department, but life is more than that. And developing a sense of community, allowing people to express their potential through cultural expression is to me extremely important. We spend not a whole lot of money on those things, but it makes life better. One of the projects, and in fact, somewhere in this office actually, I guess it's inside, there is a collection of poetry that has been produced by senior citizens in Burlington as a result of a project that was funded by the Arts Council. And I've talked to some of the senior citizens, and it's just extraordinary. The poetry is really nice. They've reflected on their own lives, their views of Burlington or whatever. And that's where it's at. That is important to me. And getting kids involved and learning how to express their own feelings, how to look at the world in a critical way or in an aesthetic way, I think it's important. So we have the Poetry Festival that will take place Saturday, tomorrow night.
So when this plays, it was last Saturday?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
last Saturday. I saw the one that took place last year. It was just terrific. And those are the types of activities that we want to encourage. Lastly, I want to chat on, obviously, an issue that I'll be spending, and my administration will be spending a lot of time on, and that is what's going on in Montpelier. Yes, clearly that has a tremendous impact on life in the city of Burlington and all the cities and towns. I continue to be astounded. You know, you go down there, you look, and it's hard to quite understand what is going on down there. They've been at it for a couple of months, the legislature has, and I'm not seeing tremendously positive results. Certainly from Burlington's point of view, the issue of state aid education is as important as anything, as I've said a million times. From our perspective, we get treated extremely shabbily through the present formula. The governor's proposal to develop a foundation plan makes a bad situation even worse. If that plan goes into effect, at best, Burlington will receive nothing for the indefinite future in increased state aid to education. At worst, at some point in the future, we will be losing more money, putting money into the state fund to increase property taxes to go into state aid to education. Right now, in Burlington, we fund our education, if my memory is correct, by about 95% through the property tax. Okay, 95% of the Burlington School Department budget comes through the property tax. 5% comes from state aid. That's insane. Throughout America, about on the average, 50% of budgets for education come from state government. We're talking about 5%. And if the governor gets her way, the situation will probably be even worse. So that remains a major effort. We have some charter changes that we would like to get through. We need some more money for our highways. There's an agenda down there. I am not impressed by what's going on there, but we'll be down there doing what we can.
Okay, anything else? We probably have we're probably just about done.
Okay. Good.
So is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
Good. That's good. Can I go?
Yep.
Okay.